Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Tuesday, January 19th, 2021, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Day.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Smith.
Here.
Councilor Reed. Here. And Councilor Duran.
Here.
Thank you all. If you are able, please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. We have nothing tonight under special orders of business, so we will go to committee reports. We have two tonight, and we'll start off with Hirsch Stangster with the Traffic Safety Bike Ped Committee, and then follow that with Planning Commission from Matt Lawyer. Good evening. Always good to see you.
Good evening. I'm here to give a kind of an update and ask some requests for some action we need for the City of Keizer's Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee. We met on the 14th, and some of the items that we were working on is Committee Citizens Transportation Survey. The chair thought that was a good idea. We had a lot of discussion, but we're kind of putting it into research mode to find out if it's even possible and if we could tie it in with the transportation studies that are expected in the next year or two. So it was a long discussion, but we're still working on it. The other was an item, the longer discussion was on the Independence Sidewalk Program. The City of Independence is working with a group that kids are helping repair sidewalks, but as part of a transition program. We don't have that per se in Marion County, but we might have something that we could develop with CTAC, which is the high school. But the way schools are right now, it's kind of wait and see. So we're a little more research on that. We have a new committee member, Rick Kuhn. Keen. He's a former ODOT engineer. Well, we'll definitely use his services on the committee. The other thing that I want to request is the City of Keizer applied 2 years ago, I think 2017 and 2018, for the bike-friendly city through the League of American Bicyclists. And I'd like to try to do that again. Most of the data is already available. It would require even less staff time than in the past. The last 2 years, minus, let's just write off 2020, we didn't do anything. The feedback that we got is, because we were only honorable mention, not a bronze or gold or anything, but what was mentioned was that we lack education within the schools here in Keizer related to bike safety, etc. Well, that's changed. We got, with Safe Routes to School, we actually have a coordinator. 2 of our schools are active, or will be active, Kennedy and Cummings. So we have something to add to our application that might move us up a little bit higher. City of Salem, I understand, is also applying for 2021. The time frame is probably April. The applications come out, and we have to get it into League of American Bicyclists by late August. So that's a request, because it would require some staff time, but not as much as because we already have the data.
So, City Manager, is that something that, in terms of staff resources, that do you want to get back to Hirsch with that feasibility?
Okay. Because Mike Griffin worked with us last time, and I think almost all the application information demographic information, everything is going to change. It's the reworking of the bike stuff, adding the safe routes to school stuff.
So yeah, if you could connect up and then confirm if staff capacity is there, that'd be great. Thank you.
But we're talking starting probably this spring, not right away.
Right, do today.
The next thing is about the city of Keizer is about the only city in the state of Oregon that has an actual helmet program that's been ongoing. And that was started in '97. And since that time, the committee has fitted and given out about 6,000 helmets to kids and some adults in the city of Keizer. We have used no city general funds to do this. It's all by donations. Some of you here have even donated to the program. And with $100 here, $200 there, we've been able to get helmets that are certified and actually fit kids in our community. What we do is we charge $5 a helmet, which doesn't cover the cost, but it keeps it where they don't end up on Craigslist. If there's an emergent need, like earlier last year, Samoka House called, I think the police department, and we came in and fit about 6 or 7 helmets free, just to do that. What I'm asking is kind of your blessing to expand our fundraising and maybe send some letters to local businesses asking for help. We've gotten help from Rotary, Salem Bicycle Club, and individuals, but I've been kind of informally asking some business around town, would you be willing to donate $20, $100, $200? And then we could buy more helmets. Last year, 2020, we had a couple helmet fitting sessions, which was kind of weird. I was all gloved up and everything, but we didn't do the number of helmets each year that we generally do. But with school possibly starting up and everything, we may have a lot more helmets to fit. So I'm just asking kind of your blessing to go ahead and get a letter and doing some soliciting to local businesses and maybe do a little more advertising this time so we can have a bigger supply of helmets come spring, summer.
So with that, may I suggest working, so your council liaison is Councilor Day, and there's a number of us who would be happy to share on social media.
Okay.
Personally, because we recognize the benefit of keeping our kids' noggins safe and healthy and support the helmet program. Councilor Kohler, I saw you were looking this way.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just, as a past counselor, liaison counselor for this committee, I know that they have done a tremendous job with the helmets, and as far as I'm concerned, I give them a big thumbs up for what they've done, and we should continue. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Councilor Herrera?
Thanks for such a great report, and it's great work you've done. You've always done it. I was there from '97 when you started. I think I had about 100 of those helmets at 6,000. But I was going to ask you in terms of LAC. We're looking for something, so we want to contact you and continue and donate and help out. In fact, I just talked to them today, and they said find something we can help with in the community.
Oh, we'd love it.
I think I found something.
Yeah, because with the Safe Routes to School, we're definitely going to have some activities at Kennedy and Cummings.
Very good.
And since I have the mic, the Monster Cookie, which I don't know if everybody knows, is an annual bike ride that we put on, Salem Bike Club has put on for, this would be the 45th year. Well, we've kind of gotten kicked out of Salem because we've always started at the Capitol Mall, And with the Capitol Mall, the state parks is, we just can't do that. The session will be in and security and all that. So we're looking elsewhere, and Keizer seems to be the place that we seem to find because our route goes through here. We have had great support with Public Works and the police. So we are looking at Keizer Rapids Park, and we'll be working with Bill on that one. And also McNary High School. Eric is all for it, but the district wants to wait to see how things go in February. So, but that's going to be, and we're moving it from April till June 27th.
Okay.
By
Monster
the-
Cookie, June 27th. Councilor Herrera?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. By the way, Rick Keene is a great addition. He was my sidekick for 15 years down the ballpark, and he's amazing.
Well, he's
He's
already
amazing.
helped us on some
He's
ODOT
great. He's been on
stuff.
many committees. And what is that mask you're wearing? It's really nice. Is that some kind of team or?
Yeah, this is a real good team.
This has been ongoing
It's
for
the
what, 30 years?
largest university in the state of Oregon.
And beat some other university?
Yeah, we know how to play football.
Thank you, Hirsch.
So I'll work with Ross on the helmet.
Yeah, if you want to get the information out, and also with Councilor Herrera to get that to Latino Action Committee, which is fabulous. That's how we
Yeah.
get stuff done. Thank you,
And,
Councilor.
we're not thousands of dollars, no. $100 can get us, $200 can get us 25 helmets.
Yeah.
So, and we get them through Helmets R Us, which is geared for nonprofits out of Tacoma. We've been doing that since '97, and the helmets meet consumer product safety, and we fit them.
Well, it's a great investment. Talk about a return on investment. And thank you for the good news about Monster Cookie. City Manager, is this something that the Salem Bicycle Club worked with staff on bringing the event application for bringing Monster Cookie here? Okay, I'm getting the head nod from Mr. Lawyer.
Bill and I have already talked.
Okay, way ahead of us.
Yeah, we're looking at all possibilities, but having it here in Keizer, we come through Keizer anyway, and
Come home.
logistics-wise. Yeah, we're home. If we get it at, I told Tracy this, that if we do have it at Keizer Rapids, my daughter just bought a home that backs up to the Big Toy, so we'll have a source of being able to get coffee during the thing.
There you go. Now we're talking. Fabulous. Well, thank you. You covered a wide range of issues. I had one more question. You talked about a citizen transportation survey.
Yeah,
So you mentioned one possibility of doing it in conjunction when we do our transportation system plan update, which would be a lot of rational nexus. The other one might be, are we going to do a citizen survey this year or next year? City Manager?
I'm not planning on it for this next year.
Microphone, they can't hear you.
I'm not planning on it for this next year.
Okay.
So until our budget costs and everything stabilize out. So,
that was kind of some of our discussion with budget, but it's an idea, get some idea of how people are using alternative modes.
The other might be a less scientific, but just an outreach using social media and our website that would have little, if any, cost. And that might be something that could be developed. I'm looking at someone who knows how to do that. And that might be an opportunity just to kind of get a pulse from the community on what people think about that. So maybe what some of the key questions might be. Getting a head nod from the city manager, likes that idea, especially with the $0. All right, that's the right amount. So maybe work with some of our social media people. Councilor Day, is this something that you might be able to also help with some of that conversation about outreach?
I'm happy to help. I don't know how much help I will be.
Okay.
But we're going to find out.
Yep, and I'm also looking at Mr. Matt Lawyer, who has helped us with a number of our outreach in efforts in the past, especially around the parks fee. and did that by putting together Facebook and other outreach tools. So maybe that's a conversation. Once the committee decides what they want to know, then we can put together a tool for getting that information, getting people to share that information.
Sounds
How's
good.
that sound?
Sounds good,
All right.
especially the budget part.
Yeah, I like that. Hey, we figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Sangster? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Lawyer. Mr. Lawyer the Younger.
Well, good evening. I'm here to talk to you about your car's extended warranty. I'm just kidding. For the record, Matt Lawyer, Keizer resident, Planning Commission. The Planning Commission met in regular session on January 13th. It was kind of weird. We did Zoom, which was our first go around with that platform. We had a text amendment. I'm sorry? Oh, all right. Hi, Carol. We had a public hearing on amending the Keizer Development Code, Section 2.114, General Industrial, specifically to allow composting facilities as a conditional use. We heard from Phil Martin and Jim McNeely, who are sort of the project leads for this particular project. Couple key things that came up were specifically around the leachy, I believe is the term, and sort of the environmental impacts or how they prevent environmental impacts with the proximity to Labish Ditch. And one of the questions that was raised was, if this is already an outright permitted use in agricultural land, why do they want to go to the industrial? And so those are just a couple of the pieces that were sort of asked and answered from the developer. Ultimately, the recommendation was forwarded to approve the text amendment on the Development Code 2.114. Shane, as always, has done an incredible job, and with the city attorney backing us up on that as well. There's a discussion about another chicken place coming into Keizer potentially, which I'm sure you'll hear a little bit more about later on. And we welcomed Councilor Kyle Duran as our liaison. He liked us so much he had to go get elected to come back because he was termed out as a planning commissioner. But we're glad to have Councilor Duran, I'm gonna have to get used to that one, on the dais with us. I'd also like to congratulate Mayor Clark and Councilor Reed on re-election, and welcome Councilor Day as well. It's my first opportunity to see the new councilors, and congratulate Councilor Smith on the council president. So, any questions or comments?
All right, thank you. Any questions on the Planning Commission report? All right.
And while yes, the Beavers did win the Platypus Bowl, Ducks are Pac-12 champions by default, I guess. But either way.
Still.
Oh, that feels so normal. I love this. Beavers and Ducks. All right. And with Parks, Tanya, thank you for joining us. Tanya Hamilton.
Thank
Good
you,
to
and
see
I
you.
completely forgot that we were supposed to send a little note to you, so I'm so sorry. Hi, Tanya Hamilton. I'm back on the Parks and Rec board, and I'm really excited to be here tonight, talk to you a little bit about what we're doing. Last meeting went really quickly. Parks look fantastic. Huge round of applause and a huge thank you for that team. They are out there. I see them. They greet people. We've had a few people show up and just talk about how great our Parks and Rec team is that's out there working in the community. So Public Works, a little shout out for you. We did a little bit of, so each meeting we do a little bit of talk about what's happening at the parks right now. Most parks, no concerns. There was a few pieces talked about with the Ryan Hill Park. The fountain is still not working. So they were talking about what the future holds with that. And then also we have a few parks that we're looking for trash cans and tables and things like that. Next month, we'll be talking about the master plan and really going and taking a deep dive into every single park and identifying what is that we're wanting to focus on and kind of put into that park. So that's one of the components that we'll do next month. We reassigned parks, which was really cool. It gives us an opportunity to get around to see the parks. We were able to identify one that we wanted to keep, and then we got one drawn for us, so that was exciting. And then, do you want me to talk about the staff report as well? I'm assuming that they don't come here. This would be the time for me to share. Yes?
Sure, yeah, briefly.
Yep, absolutely. So, the Claggett Creek Park, April is the due date for that play structure to be completed, but they did open the swings, and sure enough, as soon as they did, kids are on there using the park. It looks like McNary is here tonight to talk about the use of Claggett Creek, the fields there. Let's see. We had a pretty good response. We had 1,700 responses on the the survey for the Parks and Rec. So that's pretty great. I think that's about it. We welcomed Councilor Kohler to our meeting, but we're really excited to work with you as you join that committee. So welcome, and I think that's about it. Any questions about the report I gave?
Parks questions. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for acknowledging that I was there.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. Matthew Poteet, this is also his first time there. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And congratulations on being the vice chair. And Dave Loudon was put in as the chair
That's
of that
correct.
committee. So it was.
I don't think David is ever going to take that step away from that role.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for filling in.
And
those
you're going to
pieces.
continue to meet live, is that right?
That's correct. Yes, we made the decision to continue to meet live.
Okay,
Awesome. Thank you.
and in person. I do have one question, and I've got one from Mr. Matt Lawyer. And that was on a parks tour. The last two have been canceled. One due to inclement weather, the other one due to inclement health, also known as a pandemic. So, would the Parks Board be interested, and would council be interested in doing a parks tour after all this time to see what we've been doing, what's been happening out there? We can do it socially distanced, we can do it safe, I mean, outdoors, get safer than that. Is council interested in doing a parks tour?
Yes.
Okay. So would the Parks Board work with Mr. Lawyer and Ms. Davis on selecting parks that you feel would be instructive for us to visit in person to get a sense of the work happening and the work going forward?
Absolutely. And are we thinking a timeline as far as just to be able to?
Not winter.
Okay, got it.
I'll leave the rest to your good judgment.
Awesome.
And also to our schedule, and Tracy knows how our spring is already shaping up in terms of work sessions. But I think it would be great to get us back out there, and with two new counselors, and it's been 2 years, so.
Never done it.
Okay, so we have 4 of the 7 of us who have not done one of our traditional parks tours. So we gotta get this taken care of.
Absolutely.
1, 2, you've done one? Okay. Oh, that's right, I've got a picture if you want it, on the play thing. So 3. Yeah. Look at my Facebook
I have not been
cover
elected
picture.
yet, but
We're
I've been
all
on
on
the Parks
the spider web. So, yeah. So it was a while ago. Mr. Lawyer, do you want to?
I just had a reattack on things.
What?
I just had one more thing I forgot to.
Oh, okay. Oh, brain attack, that's what you said, okay. So anyway, with that, anything else for parks? Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate Mr. Kohler, Councilor Kohler, for covering me, and I'm really looking forward to working with you guys. I was very excited to get this opportunity, so thank you so much for that. Thanks for the report. Also, I'm receiving several text messages that people cannot hear. So if everybody just make sure you're on your mic. The masks do make it a little difficult, so the people at home cannot hear you. So Councilor Day and City Manager, you two were specifically.
I don't think that one is working.
It may not be working, so.
Lights on, but nobody, but the microphone's not home. Yeah. All right, thank you, Tanya. Mr. Lawyer, well, you come up, and then Chris, can something be, or maybe you guys can share, figure it out.
So Madam Mayor, I apologize. One of the things I think that's important that the public knows, with the ongoing emergency declarations being sort of updated on a regular basis, the Planning Commission did decide to hold the March meeting via Zoom. The February meeting will already be via Zoom since we're having the joint work session with the council. But I just want folks to be aware of that in March we will be holding our meeting via Zoom. So that's already been pre-planned. If the emergency order gets changed or whatever, it just allows Shane the flexibility and opportunity to get those notices out as required by law for the public hearings. So that's it.
Okay, that's the work session on February 8th, is that correct? For the buildable lands inventory housing needs analysis. There we go, I did it without the acronym.
There you go.
Boom. Okay, thank you. It's good to know that's going to be on Zoom, so Councilor, your schedules. All right, I think we have our sound system solved. Councilor Day, does that work now?
I don't know yet.
All right, you're
That's way
on.
better.
Great, okay. We problem solve. Okay, that's all I have for committee reports tonight. Is there anybody here with the committee who wanted to report in? Did I miss anybody? Okay, that takes us to public testimony. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have 3 public hearings scheduled tonight. The amendment of rates for franchise solid waste collection within the city of Keizer. 7B, hops and drops liquor license, additional privilege. Item 7C, Keizer Development Code, text amendment, section 2.313, accessory structures and uses relating to design standards for accessory structures. So if you're here to talk about one of those, make sure you sign on one of those pages that Ms. Davis has in her hand. Other than that, I do have 2 gentlemen signed up to talk to us about item 8A, and with council's consensus, I would like both Mike and Rob to talk to us when we get to item 8A, if that would be all right with you all.
Yeah.
So that way we have that conversation all in one piece. So if you 2 gentlemen would hang tight. Is there anybody else who would like to address the city council? I have nobody else signed up for public testimony at this time. Going once, twice. All right. We will go then to our public hearings. Open the public hearing for item 7A, amendment of rates for franchise solid waste collection within the city of Keizer. City manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney?
Thank you, Chris, Madam Mayor and Council. A year ago, although it feels like 2 or 3, the franchised haulers came and met with Chris and I January of 2020 to talk about some ordinance changes and rate changes. And within a month after that, COVID hit and everything kind of slowed up, and the haulers held up because of that with a proposed rate increase. But have come back and are looking for a rate increase kind of along the lines, some of you might remember that the council, last time there was an increase, suggested to the haulers smaller increases more often might be better than really large increases less often. And so they are proposing a 2-step increase, an increase for this March 2021, and then an increase for March 2022, both of which under the proposal would be approved in one order, so they wouldn't have to come back next year. And I won't get into all those details in terms of the numbers. The haulers and the representatives are here and can give you those. It's attached in the attached to the staff report. And with that, the way the ordinance works is after the public hearing and public input, unless there's further questions, the recommendation is to close the hearing and direct staff as appropriate to come back with the order. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Okay, I don't see any. So at this time, okay, I'll have to circle back. I do have Ms. Harlan signed up to testify. Welcome, and if you just give your name and your city of residence and your organization and your business, that would be great. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I am Estelle Harlan. I'm a solid waste management consultant for your solid waste franchisees here in the city of Keizer. As Attorney Shannon Johnson indicated, we had thought we would be here a year ago. And then with COVID, we decided, as much for the customers as for us, that this last year was not the year to be increasing rates. And so we chose instead to go for the two subsequent increases, March 1 of 2021 and March 1 of 2022. We are requesting an increase in current collection rates due to increases in our costs of operating for picking up the materials. We incur general increases in operating costs each year, but there are some that are really significant based on our business that is more than in the general business community. So the last rate increase was in 2019. That was based on data for the years 2017, 2018. The processing costs for commingle has gone up 13.8% over that period of time. And in my memo to the city, it gives you the specific numbers. Mixed organics, which is the garbage and the yard debris that's collected together, has increased over that period of time from by 19.3%. Labor costs have increased by 2.9% in 2020, and we expect the same increase in 2021. The CPI has increased most of the other costs by 1.8 in 2020 and 2.1 in 2021 and 2022. We expect those to be the increases. So as indicated, many of our costs go up greater than the CPI. As I've indicated, the commingle, 13.8%. Mixed organics, the processing, 19.3%. We've also increased, but this is the good news, we've also increased our recycling education outreach. Since we were here for the 2019 rate adjustment, we've added a new app, which is called Mid-Valley Curbside Collection. And this is part of our public education that's free to the customer and can be accessed by Apple, Android, or other internet models. Some of the features are Waste Wizard, curbside collection alerts, and information on what materials go out on what day, and a call blast to improve communications with customers. So getting down to our financial status and our rate proposal, the pro forma operating margins for 2020 indicate that we are sitting at a 6.4% operating margin. That's net before taxes. The industry target is 10%, so we're well below the industry target. Our proposal for 2021 is in three parts: residential, commercial, and the roll-off. The residential, we're asking for 6.5% increase. This is based on numbers over a 3-year period. It's less than the CPI over that period. The commercial increase is 3% that we're asking for. That's lower than the CPI over the 3-year period. The roll-off increase is we're asking for 9%. Now, back in 2019, we did not increase the roll-off rates. We have not increased those for 5 years since 2016. So this is still within the CPI, but we just couldn't hold on roll-off any longer. That's the big drop boxes. If the rate increase is granted by the council for 2021, the operating margin, again, that's net before taxes, is calculated to be a total of 9.2% for operating margin. That would be just below the industry target of 10%. If the rate increase is not granted for 2021, the operating margin is calculated to be 5%, and that's 1/2 of the industry target. Now moving to 2022, we are proposing rate adjustments as followed. Again, 3 parts. Residential increase just 3%. Commercial increase, just 3%. And roll-off, 0. We need to get the roll-off brought up in 2021 because it's so far behind. But we're kind of splitting it between 2021 and 2022 for the residential and commercial. So for 2022, if that increase is granted, it would bring us right up to the 10% targeted operating margin. If the rate increase is not granted, the 2022 operating margin would fall to 3.4%. That's way below the industry average. We have provided you with a separate rate schedule, which shows the current rates and the proposed rates if you grant the increase. And the schedule shows for each of the years, 2021 and 2022. And I have also prepared and provided to you a comparative rate schedule. And this is showing you the cities in Marion County as well as the county. And if these rates are granted, you will be in a very favorable position with the other jurisdictions around you. That's particularly true if you recognize that there are services granted here in the city of Keizer that are not available in many of the other cities. In fact, the other city is Salem. It's Salem, Keizer, and Marion County that get the mixed organics. The others do not have it. And so that's a wonderful benefit for the city of Keizer. So we are requesting the increase stated in this memo for 2021 and 2022 with the effective dates of March 1 for each of those years. Do you have questions?
Thank you very much. It was very comprehensive. And for folks who are following along at home, if you have the electronic packet in front of you, is page 7 of the PDF. So folks who are watching can find that. Questions? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know when you were here in 2019 to talk about this, a big reason for the increase was the change in the market, specifically with China and so forth. And I was just wondering if there's any kind of technology on the horizon or anything to develop, or any technology on the horizon to ameliorate some of these costs and make recycling a little bit more cost effective.
Well, they have flattened somewhat. And what we're, as an industry, what we're doing now is kind of what we did before that crisis in 2019. And that is, we're letting the cost just flow to the bottom line like we would fuel and labor and the others. As far as technology, there's no silver bullet out there. Is there anything you would like to talk about? No, there is no silver bullet. I mean, everybody, if the entrepreneurs, if there's a way to make this work, they will make it work. And a few things have, but not with not losing the market to China. We just don't, and India, we don't have other markets. And you know, I've worked with this industry for longer than I'd like to reveal, but it's over 30 years. And when we started recycling back in the 80s with Senate Bill 405, we wanted everything to be recyclable. And I was on the committee for the DEQ that set up the rules. And the truth was, that a lot of the things that we called recycling never were. But we had places like China and India to send it. And so we did, until they couldn't take it anymore. And because it wasn't recyclable for them either. And so now we have really drilled back to what is recyclable. And that's where we are. I mean, it's a reality that we didn't know we were going to have to face, but we have.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Mr. Upley, and then I'll go to Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious on the increases 21 and 22. In terms of the open dumpster or the roll-off, I've noticed it, like, you didn't do that rate increase for 1 year, then you got 9%, then you go 0. I mean, I don't understand why, why didn't you go like 5% and then 4% on 21 and 22?
Well, the problem is that we got too far behind. We should have raised it in 2019. We didn't. We did not increase it since 2016.
I realize that, yeah.
And we got so far behind. We talked about splitting it, but it's just so far behind that it's not a good way of doing business. It's not covering costs.
Okay. Well, this was put together pretty well, pretty self-explanatory. Good job on that bit. And the other thing I was going to make a comment on was your outreach the last few years has been really good. I know that in terms of, I was talking to my good friend over here, John, and the gentleman by the name of Reed, who's not there anymore, I understand. He did an excellent job. I mean, he was everywhere. And I thought, wow, that was really great for our community to have that outreach. And the website, too, the app is great. I don't know if people even know about the app, maybe. So those are good features that I think are really well
Thank
worth
you,
it.
Counselor.
And thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Epley.
Ms. Harlan, you mentioned a 6.5 increase for residential in 2021. Would you mind telling me what that equates to for the average household per month? Actually, more importantly, could you tell the people who are listening?
Yeah.
So, good question.
Can you give me that number from the rate schedule? It's right here. $1.76 for a 35-gallon cart for the first year,
Right,
And 87 cents the following.
and 87 cents the following year,
per month.
per month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Day, did you have something? A question? Okay, Counselor Day.
Thank you, Dr. Harlan. I've got a couple of questions for you. Number one, the term operating margin. What is operating margin?
Okay, good question. So it's a term of, I suppose that you would call it a term of art within the solid waste industry. But what it means is that it's net, it's the net as a percent of gross. So you have your gross revenue, you have your costs, and you have your net. And that net as a percent of gross revenue is the operating margin.
Prior to taxes.
I'm sorry?
Prior to taxes.
Prior to taxes, correct. Taxes is not a deductible expense.
Well, is it the same thing as profit?
It could be called profit.
Okay. So in here it says industry target of 10%.
Correct.
So the industry's target is a 10% profit.
Yes.
Why do I care what the industry's target for making a profit is? Why should any of us care about that?
So it's the I understand your question, but the reason is, why do we care that we do a lot of things that we have found makes good business sense? And throughout this industry, for the better part of a century, we have been looking at a 10%, what we can operate on efficiently. And that margin, we need to understand that we actually end up, you asked the question about profit. We actually end up with about 3% of that, because we have taxes, it's about a third, and we have investment for the equipment that we have to constantly keep replacing and restoring.
Which are assets on your balance sheet.
They are.
Yep.
And-
So you choose to a third of that to purchase assets for your company, correct?
Correct. And so the actual profit is about, getting back to your question, is about a third of that, or about 3%.
What was, Dr. Harlan, what was your client's operating margin in 2019, do you know?
Well, I don't know what it was before they came in, but we tried to raise it to 10. I was not here in 2019, I was here earlier, but not in 2019.
I read through your memo, and it said that no other jurisdiction this year other than Staten is proposed, at least in your comparative rates summary, is proposing to raise any rates. Have they raised the rates?
No, actually, what I showed, I want to clarify what I showed there. What I showed was that that was the only one that we knew that was currently in the process of asking for a rate increase. Since this, I wrote my memo in December, and since then, we're in discussions like with Marion County right now.
Okay, Dr. Harlan, has any other jurisdiction raised their rates?
Many other jurisdictions have raised their rates, but I gave you the rate that was effective December, and I only pointed out Staten because it was going to be changing.
Understand. Let me ask a better question. I didn't ask a very good question there. I apologize. In 2021, on January 19th, 2021, as of January 19th, 2021, have any other jurisdictions raised their rates?
Not since I did this memo.
Okay.
No, Staten was going in for one, and I honestly don't know whether that has been approved yet or not.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Other questions on Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Dr. Harlan, I just wanted to say thank you for the way that you put all this together. It made a lot of sense to me, and I wanted to commend our local haulers. Now, is this a PUC, or it's kind of like a PUC? Because we contract with them to do our city's business, and therefore we have a little say on what the prices are. Is that how that works?
It's not a public utility committee. It's not a PUC. Mr. Johnson, do you want to? You perked up like you would like to be more specific on that answer.
Right. Well, Dr. Harlan probably knows more than I do about this, but under state statute and under our own ordinance, we have fee authority in the sense that we have to authorize them as franchise holders, and no one can come in unless they're authorized as a franchisee. So they don't contract with the city directly, but they have to have authority from the city under our ordinance, and under our ordinance, we have to approve their rates.
Thank you very much. But I know in 2019, when we came and you talked about rates and rate increase, we asked you to come more frequently and to have smaller rate increases. And I just wanted to commend you for actually doing what we asked you to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Even with skipping a year, we're trying to keep it within what the CPI would have been, over that period of time, or, well, in the case of Dropbox, unfortunately, it was over 5 years of time, which was too long.
Well, I, for one, really appreciate that every week somebody comes and picks up my trash.
Bottom line.
Yes. So one of the things that we do notice is with economic variations, that there are some people who choose to inappropriately discard their trash in alleyways and in our parks. And things like that. I have a friend who lives out on Delaney, and people drop trash there and so forth, and that kind of short-sightedness on the part of the people who do that. There are ways that if people are having a hard time with their bills, that they can come to the haulers and say, my income has been affected by COVID, I'm on unemployment, I've had a major event in my life, and they can come to the haulers and have a conversation rather than, do some midnight dumping that leaves the mess for everybody to clean up. Can you talk a little bit, or one of our haulers here, talk a little bit about that program? Because I think it really helps the community understand the rest of the equation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. If I move
There
this
you
up. So, yes, during the COVID crisis, all the haulers met, and we
Oh, I'm sorry. If you would just say your name and which company you're with, thank you.
John Sullivan, General Manager, Lawrence Sanitation.
Thank you.
When the COVID crisis hit, we met with all the haulers at our Mid-Valley Hauling Company that we have out in Brooks. And we all agreed that at that point in time, we set a date, we weren't going to cut people off from garbage service. That when they called and had an issue, that we were going to continue to pick up their garbage for them throughout this crisis. And we've continued to do that. The people that were currently in arrears, before that, we had to follow through and have them catch up, but we make payment arrangements with them. That's all it takes is communication with us, and we're happy to make payment arrangements with our customers.
Thank you. I really appreciate getting that word out there. We want to make sure that people understand that there are options if they do communicate, and to please not try to take upon themselves to dispose of things. Otherwise, we really don't appreciate it in the parks. Do we, Mr. Lawyer? No.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you so
happy to
much.
do it as long as there's communication.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Anything else?
Anything else for Mr. Sullivan?
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any other questions for Dr. Harlan or any of our franchisees that are here tonight? Okay, I'm not getting anything from council. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. Are there any other people who would like to testify on this issue tonight? Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council, staff. First time actually giving public testimony on a public hearing. For the record, Matt Lawyer, volunteer coordinator here in Keizer. I can tell you right now that the profit margins do matter for these companies, and I can tell you right now that Lawrence Sanitation time and time again answers the call when we need rubbish services for our volunteer projects and for a lot of our other projects. More often than not, they deliver the bins for no cost and minimal cost as far as dumping them. One of the biggest is the 30-yard debris bin that happens every year out here in front of City Hall, where they drop that off and we fill it full of rubbish. And as far as I know, most of that goes off and becomes mulch somewhere else. But I can see this potentially impacting not only the work that we do with our volunteers, but also the ability to continue to clean up our parks, which impacts all of the neighbors, not just the ones that live at one park. As one park starts to fall apart and lose desirability due to trash and some of those other things, which we spend a lot of time cleaning up, eventually it'll move down the line. So this is just one cog in the wheel, I think, that continues to serve the city and serve the people of the city. And on a personal note, you know, $3, $5, whatever a month, for me, I'm like, go for it, because when it comes to our volunteer projects and our ability to continue to do our work, the work that Lawrence Sanitation has brought in has been incredible, and the city of Keizer specifically has benefited greatly from it, from reduced costs for getting rid of rubbish. So just a personal note on that.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Lawyer? All right, thank you so much. Is there anybody else who would like to comment during this public hearing? All right, I've got no one else from the audience. Anything else from council? All right, close public hearing. Council President Smith, would you put a motion on the table and we can discuss?
Yes. I move that the Keizer City Council direct staff to bring back an order at the Keizer City Council meeting for February 1st, 2021 for the amendment of rates for franchise solid waste collection within the city of Keizer in the amounts presented.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council Reed. Discussion. Councilor Day, I saw the wheels turning.
Well, yeah, I just think, I get it, you know, I have a small business myself. I've got to make ends meet and want to make a profit. I just have a hard time raising rates, raising costs on Keizerites at a time when people are hurting. I just don't know that this is the right time. Not saying we shouldn't do it, but maybe not right now. I just have a really hard time with that. I really don't care. I'm not here to help private business make a profit, right? I understand they need to. I don't have a problem with that. But Dr. Harlan's own testimony was, I mean, at a minimum, they're making the 3% return on their investment. That's pretty good these days, unfortunately. That's a pretty good return. So I just have a really, really hard time increasing costs on Keizerites right now. I just don't think this is a smart time to do it. So I'll be voting no.
Okay. I'm going to make one comment, then I'm going to come to Councilor Herrera. One thing I do know that over time, when rates go up, they have to pay them before they come back to us for the rate increase. So there's part of that that's going to go down before they come back for the adjustment. So to understand that there is some margin that has to be built in for that as well, because there's some unpredictability in the tipping fees and in some of the other markets. So just want to throw that out there, which is why I'll be a yes. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Councilor Day makes a valid point there. And but I will say this: I know that they made sacrifices, like you mentioned earlier last year, in terms of your customers. And I know personally that you have worked with many, and I really appreciate that you did that last year. And while I do understand Councilor Day's position as far as how folks are hurting at this time, I do see your side in terms of community because you helped me so many years. When and all the community effort that you've done that Matt has talked about, and so many other things in terms of community, as far as the scholarships and things that you've done, other things outside the community people don't know about. But I understand Councilor Day's point, but at the same time I am supporting this. So thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe also that line of questioning was based on the industry average. And we had already established that this proposal is 6% rather than the 10% industry average. Is that correct?
No, that's a target.
No, Dr. Harlan's shaking her head no. It's based on getting to the 10% target. Am I correct?
9 point.
It's almost 2. It's not quite to the 10.
Okay.
It's getting close to, but not quite.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Did we get it right, Dr. Harlan? Close.
Close enough.
Yes, please. Let's make sure we get it right.
So right now, we are sitting at the 6.4. We're not, the 10% target, we would get 3% if we got 10%. Right now, we're already a third below that. In next year, we'll go down more, and by 2022, or this year we go down more, and by 2022, we'd be down at about 3.4. So we're way down. We're not getting 3% unless you bring us up to 10. And we're not asking you to bring us up to 10, you're correct, for this year. We're at 9.2. Over 2 years, we would get back up to 10. But the mayor was also correct that by then, costs will have eroded, so we're always a little behind.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question since we're taking testimony again?
Well, Ed, did I close the public hearing?
Yes, you did, but
Dang
you
it.
invited her up to talk.
Oh, I did. So, Mr. Johnson, do I need to reopen?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Public hearing reopened. Councilor Day.
So if your clients 1 year would exceed the industry target of 10% if we agreed to this rate increase, would they refund that money to Keizerites? Or would they keep it?
That's a hypothetical. We have never had the luxury of having that issue because we're always conservative in calculating what's going to get us to 10. And if we have not gone over.
Well, you said that the industry target, the 10% is
Right.
an average, is what you said.
Right.
Okay,
That-
so there
that
is, hold on, let me ask my question, Dr. Harlan. So if I understood you correctly, there must be, if it's an average, that must mean that there are some jurisdictions that are making more than 10%, right? If it's an average?
Okay, may I
Sure.
explain what happens here? We work within a range of 8 to 12%. We target 10% when we adjust the rates. So, for instance, in Marion County right now, we're looking, are we between 8 and 12? And we're low, and so we're looking at adjusting back to 10. So that 10% target is not some maximum that if we bump up, we bump up against it, we have to give back. It's the target it's the target that it is what we target when we bring ourselves back for a rate adjustment. And it's always when we're needing to go up. If we're not more than 12, then they say we're fine, you don't have to give it back. But here's what the jurisdictions generally prefer for us to do. And it's not the case here, but I'm talking about other jurisdictions in which I've worked. They ask us to, rather than give back 5 cents or 10 cents, to add to our programs in some way, just so that we're still giving to the customer and in something that needs to be done. But I mean, the question here is, we're so far below the 10. We're just trying to come up to 10, which is the target for resetting rates.
Dr. Harlan, I understand that.
Thank you.
What I'm asking you is, because you just threw out with Marion County 8 to 12%. So that tells me that you do expect in some scenarios to get above 10% return, profit, operating margin. My question is simple. For Keizerites, if you get above 10%, are you going to refund that money to them?
Mr. Sullivan would like to respond.
We would come back, that would be your decision. You set the rates.
Okay. I don't have anything further, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, would you like to add to the conversation, please?
So what we would be happy to do is if we get to that 12% margin for some reason, we do an analysis of our financials every year. We have Kevin do it. He does a blended financial for us. He's a certified CPA. And if we get to that point that we're at the 12% margin, we would look at the next year's rate adjustment, which we've done in the past, and we would forego a percentage of that if we needed to. This is a maximum rate that we are asking for. So
it's an up to?
It's up to. So if for some reason we were to get to the 12% or 13%, which I've been doing this for close to 40 years and I've never been there, we would be happy to adjust back our rate adjustment in 2022. Make sense? Does that help? Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions since we reopened? Now is the time. Councilor Duran.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. As a businessman, I, deal with how profitable I am over the years. And if I had to live on 3% every year, it would be hard for me to keep going long term. So just to put into perspective, I don't have to ask permission to do this. So that's the thing that, that people need to understand is, they're kind of tied to what rules, they've agreed to. So they come to us with these calculations trying to give us numbers that are going to fit into those, the agreement. So I understand that right now it's a bad time to raise rates, but then again, if we wait and keep waiting, it could cause problems for them down the road, and I understand that. I just wanted to kind of make that comment about, or if I had to ask permission to raise my rates, I'd be in trouble.
So do we have any other questions for staff or for Dr. Harlan or the franchisees? Otherwise, I will close the public hearing and we will continue debate on the motion on the floor. We good? Okay. Public hearing closed. Continuing debate on the motion on the floor. Councillor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When I look at the rates and I compare them to other communities within our vicinity, I still think Keizer is getting a pretty good bargain on the services that we're getting.
And I know one of the things we've asked for in the past and we have gotten is educational and outreach for proper disposal, proper recycling. Although I do go by a couple of people in our neighborhood down the street from Carol and me that put their recycling in plastic bags. Folks don't do that. But I know that's been part of the outreach as well, to try to make the recyclables actually recyclable. And we will. I know that the haulers will continue to do that. Any further discussion or debate on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, signify by saying no.
No.
Motion passes 6-1. The no is Councillor Day. Thank you very much. And that will take us then to item 7B, but with council's permission, I'd like to circle back. I'm still learning this new system I've put into place for public testimony and comment. What I failed to do was read into the record the written comment that we have received. So I would like to circle back and read into the record the letters that we did receive. So my apologies for skipping that. I'll get the new cycle down here. I received an identical letter from 3 people. It was called Protect People in Keizer and Oregon, from Keizer residents Jamie Workman, Jean-Pierre Slick, and Dana Petrie Miller. Received a letter, which is on our dais, from Elizabeth Allen Swan, Keizer resident, goals and work plan. Received a email from Shanda Miha, Keizer resident, complex dispensary in city law question. And received a letter today, which council you don't have yet. It will be scanned in and sent to you, from Salem Mennonite Church, located on Candlewood Drive in Keizer. And the memo was titled Racism and White Nationalism Concerns for the Salem Keizer Community. So that will be sent to you. It arrived in my box. So that puts into the printed record that will go out later for people to be able to read what people have sent in. All right, thank you for your indulgence there. I'm going to circle back now to item 7B, which is Hops and Drops liquor license, additional privilege. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On December 23rd, 2020, the city received an application for a change of license additional privilege for the liquor license for Hops and Drops located at 6295 Keizer Station Boulevard out at Keizer Station. The establishment wishes to include off-premises sales as part of their liquor service. I think that this is in relation to the governor's office now allowing takeout liquor from restaurants. The establishment wishes to include, they currently hold a full on-premises sales license. There are no changes in the ownership or location of the establishment. As required, the City of Keizer ordinance notice was published and letters sent to property owners within 200 feet of the establishment. No comments have been received as of the writing of this report. Reviews by the Keizer Police Department and Keizer Community Development Department have found no reason to recommend denial of the application. It is recommended the City Council open the public hearing, receive testimony, and close the public hearing. It is further suggested the City Council recommend approval of the additional privilege of an off-premises sales license for Hops and Drops under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and then the recommendation will be forwarded to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for their dispensation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The public hearing is opened and the staff report is included by reference. Are there any questions on the staff report? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm wondering, in the normal course of business, obviously the ID is taken care of by the waiters or the bartenders or whatever. Are there any provisions in this delivery kind of a scenario where we can ensure that people are within the legal age?
I don't believe this is delivery of liquor, it is takeout. So people will go
Okay.
and be able to order a drink with their takeout meal, and then they'll be carded, et cetera,
Okay, so
and
there
they'll be
is
able to take it
still
with
carding, there's still those
Yes, ma'am.
provisions in place?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you're old enough like me and you don't get carded any longer.
I know it was a sad day when I stopped getting carded.
I know, it's pathetic.
All right, any other questions? Counselor Day?
I guess, I don't know if this is for Mr. Epley or really for who, but I think this is something a little different. So I represent a number of restaurants, and they are, in somebody's infinite wisdom, they've decided that you can't eat inside, but you can eat inside a tent, which is located in the parking lot, which is off premises from where the restaurant. I think that's what this is. I've got clients who have
My
to
area.
file for off-premise. So if you've driven by Hops and Drops, you will see that they've got tents out there. Pretty sure that's what this is for.
I don't believe that that's the case.
Okay.
I know
Because
that
they have takeout.
I've been at Hops and Drops and.
Well, I know there people are serving in those tents, even if they don't have the license, because OLCC is granting them kind of a safe harbor time. But in my experience,
Tracy, do you have additional information?
My understanding is what Councilor Day is talking about is something that the legislature passed as a temporary measure that during that time that they could serve outside or to go. But when I talked to the applicant, they want this to continue on as an additional privilege. The to-go part.
so this is for to go?
This is a to-go, and for them to sell a container of beer or wine to go off premises with a takeout order. Because I thought that the current legislation that was passed in December is a temporary one for what you're talking about. But that's what I understood, but I didn't look into it further.
Okay, well, either way, I'm going to vote for it, so.
Council President Smith?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that this also, they brew their own beer, so it may be a growler situation, because you would have to, I believe, get permanent licensing for that if you wanted to sell growlers. So I think that that might actually be what this is, if it's going to be a
No, I
permanent.
think that was covered under the previous license already.
Was it?
So this is different. This is an additional privilege beyond what they've been able to do.
For example, Growl Movement has an on-premises license to serve on and an off-premises license that you can fill growlers to go. Jeff and Cheryl's has an on-premises to serve and an off-premises, so they can serve or sell outside on the golf course. So those are a couple examples of places that have two, an on-premise and an off-premise.
Okay, I learned something.
This does not make any sense.
All right.
OLCC.
Any other, yeah. No comment. Any other questions on the staff report? All right, is there anybody who would like to speak to this issue? I have nobody signed up under public testimony. Hearing none. Council, any additional questions before I close the public hearing? Just one question. Okay, any other questions? All right. We good to close it? Councilor Day,
I'm good.
We good? Okay. Close public hearing. Council President Smith, would you put the motion on the table for us, please?
I move that the Keizer City Council recommend approval of the additional privilege of an off-premise sales license for Hops and Drops under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinance of the City of Keizer, and this recommendation be forwarded to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval.
Looking for a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilor Reed. It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council recommend approval of the additional privilege of an off-premises sales license for Hops and Drops under the guidelines as established by ORS 471.178 and the ordinances of the City of Keizer, and that this recommendation be forwarded to the Oregon Liquor Control Commission for final approval. Comments, discussion? All in favor, please, Councilor Kohler.
So is this all liquor?
Everything that they have a license to sell.
So if somebody said, well, I want to get a fifth of something, they can just distribute that along with the to-go order?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think their license includes, selling bulk or more like what the liquor store sells. I don't think they can do that.
Okay, it was just,
It's a
what do
thought.
I
but-
know?
Because it's different from a growler, which is something that's dispensing into a particular container, but I don't
That's
think
all right, I
they're
don't know
the
what a
fifths.
growler is either, so it's.
Oh, okay, insert joke here. All right. I'm not going on camera with that. All right, any other discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes 7-0 unanimously. All right, item 7C, Keizer Development Code Text Amendment, Section 2.313, accessory structures and uses relating to design standards for accessory structures. Public hearing is opened. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Witham.
Thanks, City Manager, Madam Mayor, City Council. So the proposed text amendment is to amend the section of the code which regulates our accessory structures, so outbuildings, shops, sheds, not to be confused with accessory dwelling units. Two different things. And this was an item that had been identified by the Planning Commission through kind of our work program last year. In November, we took it to Planning Commission. Ultimately, it did pass unanimously. And a couple things to point out, the staff report kind of spells out what the changes are. They really are not, there's nothing that's really super substantive or significant with the changes. It really had to do with clarifying some of the long-standing existing language in the code that has created numerous situations where we have confused customers or homeowners that want to put up a shop or a shed and they don't know what they can do. Or they've come in and they've read something and they think it says one thing and we have to explain, well, no, it is 600 square feet is the maximum. So we went through and we basically clarified, because with ADUs, that was one of the questions we were getting a lot is, well, if I have an ADU, does that mean I can't have a shop? If I have a shop, can I not have an ADU? So we wanted to clarify that an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, is not an accessory structure. We also wanted to clarify how we regulate setbacks, and that's based on the wall height of the structure. And if you have a very tall peak, then the side that has the peak and that large face is going to be set back farther than the short side that has the gutter. So we modified some of the language to clearly spell that out in, I think, a better way. Councilor Johnson helped frame some of that language. So we looked at that. The other thing we've had a lot of confusion over the years is corner lots and side yards and setbacks to streets versus property lines. So we brought some clarity to how the standards have been applied for, well, over 20 years that I've been here, at least how we've always applied them. We spelled some language into how we've been doing it. And then I think the most substantive piece is we made a clearer definition of what constitutes an accessory structure versus an addition to your house or your attached garage. And in the past, my predecessor, we used to always kind of joke that he had his magic wand and would kind of use his czar-like powers to determine if something was attached enough to be considered part of the house. So with the help, again, of Councilor Johnson, we came up with some language that clarifies that we're looking to say, hey, if you're going to attach a structure to your house and call it part of your attached garage, it needs to be attached by a common wall or habitable space of at least 10 feet in lineal feet. So you can't just get away with, a lot of guys will come in because they want a larger shop than what we allow, and so they'll come in and say, oh, I'll just put a little breezeway up, and then I can build this giant structure. And so that's something that we've got into a lot of, I won't say arguments, but we've got into a lot of healthy debate with homeowners and contractors and citizens over the years on what we will allow. So really, these intended changes are to make it more user-friendly for both our citizens and especially for me as a staff person, so that it's real clear. And then the other thing that did come up at the meeting, we've always kind of prohibited metal siding on structures greater than 200 square feet in area. And 200 square feet is the magic number because that's where permits kick in. So if somebody goes out and buys a small, 8x8 shop at Lowe's and they put it up over the weekend, we're gonna never know about it. We don't have a review process for that. But if they place it in the wrong spot or too close to a property line, then we end up having to tackle it with code enforcement. So one of the things that we wanted to clarify here is that, hey, 200 square foot structures, anything above that, you've got to have a building permit. But one of the things that Planning Commission brought to light was there's a lot of different building materials. And so we are going to allow metal siding as long as it's residential in character. And we also added in vinyl and resin, because resin has been a really common product that's been being used more and more, that looks nice, it looks compatible with the existing neighborhood. So that is basically the gist of the proposed changes. I'm not going to walk you through line by line of the red lines, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on those. With that, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Or the language recommended by the Planning Commission? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clarify, you did this just for Kyle, so that, that's right.
I don't think I've ever fought with Councilor Duran on this particular issue.
But it will bring clarity. I really appreciate looking at the current products that are on the market and making sure that our code is not getting in the way of people using what is now becoming much more acceptable in our neighborhoods and a bit readily available. Councilor Day.
I was just curious, Mr. Witham, what is a membrane structure?
So like it would be like a tent or one of those garage carport type of structures. And those and I know that language, we changed that language a bit. We've always prohibited those over 200 square feet in area, but it's never said it quite that clearly. It was prohibited because of the overall materials that are being used. And so that's one of the things, and do not ask me if there's any of those that are not legal in town. I live here, we are complaint driven and we want to stay that way. But that is one of those pieces where a lot of the stores, actually I was just in Costco this last week. Yep. They have one right now, and it is a 10 by 20 for this exact reason. Mm-hmm. It's very common that 200 square feet is going to be the cap because that's when a building permit would kick in. So at that size, those would still be allowed as long as you can meet the setback provisions. But anything larger than that, and then we get into ones where I've had a few over the years, back when I did code enforcement, that I did not make friends because I had to make people remove very large tents that they had bought to house their RV in or their boat or whatever. And so the language we proposed to spell that out, that the membrane structures over 200 square feet was prohibited, was really a function of trying to just more clearly spell out what that was because it was sort of hidden previously.
Okay. Additional questions on the proposed language? Is there anybody who would like to speak to this issue? I have no one signed up on the public hearing sheet. Don't all rush at once. Take your turn. Social distancing. All right. Any other follow-up questions before I close the public hearing? All right. Public hearing is closed. Council President Smith.
I move that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an ordinance with findings to adopt the proposed revisions to the Keizer Development Code, Section 2.313, accessory structures and uses.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council direct staff to prepare an ordinance with findings to adopt the proposed revisions to Keizer Development Code, Section 2.313, accessory structures and uses. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes 7-0 unanimous. All right, let's go on then to administrative action. Item 8A, which is the use of baseball fields at Claggett Creek Park. And so folks will remember after the staff report, we do have two people here, Mike Bays and Rob Tavares, who would like to speak to us on this issue, and they were willing to stay until this part of the council meeting, so we'd have the conversation all at once. With that, City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lawyer.
Thank you, Chris. Madam Mayor and Council, staff was contacted by representatives of McNair Youth Baseball, or MYB, requesting to reserve the baseball fields at Claggett Creek Park on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 6 p.m. and Saturday mornings from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. for the period beginning April 13th, 2021 through June 5th, 21 for their T-ball games. These fields have not historically been an area that is able to be reserved. Only the soccer field in this park has been available for reservations. MIB is proposing to cut out baselines, chalk and mow the infield and outfield, install permanent home plates and permanent bases, including caps and plugs for all the bases. Additionally, they would provide benches for the season and pick up trash and debris from the fields and the areas around them. There is not an established fee for reserving these ball fields. Only the soccer field has an established fee, so staff proposes to use the, quote, field slot rate established for the Keizer Little League complex through the management agreement currently in place with the city, which is $30 per field per game for a 1-hour slot. For the requested dates and times, this would equal a total of $1,920, or 16 days, that's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 fields per day for an hour, and 8 days, the Saturdays in that period, 2 fields per day for 2 hours. MYB is requesting a waiver of these fees for their efforts to establish permanent bases and other maintenance activities in the park during their use of the park facilities. There's really no fiscal impact directly to the city with this request. Staff recommends the City Council consider this matter to determine if there is support for reserving the ball fields at Claggett Creek Park and the waiver of fees associated with this request. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions on the staff report? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, these fields are not going to be interfering with the soccer fields at all, right? In terms of the cutting of the bases and all of the soccer fields will still be usable?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We did have some discussion, and Robert did, with the rugby folks, because they tend to use that field, the soccer field or rugby field, a lot during the same time frame. Doesn't appear there's going to be a conflict because they typically play later in the day.
Okay. In general, though, could the soccer fields be used at the same time as the baseball fields, though?
Possibly. Depends on how far T-ballers can hit the ball. Okay. I mean, it's not something I would recommend or encourage, I would say. Could it happen? Probably.
Okay.
Josh Riddle.
So yeah, I guess just my question is this agreement going to affect other people's ability to use other parts of the park?
We don't believe so, because we can structure any reservations needed for the soccer field around these times. It's 10 o'clock in the morning is fairly early in the day, so we would not let somebody reserve the soccer field before 10 o'clock on those Saturdays. The rest of the park use will remain the same. Parking, we've almost doubled the parking in the north end of the park, so that will help.
So, in terms of the reservations, but the walk-on part of it, I mean, would people not be able to just use the field without reservations when the baseball reservations were going on?
Certainly the northern half of the field, of the soccer field, would be completely usable while the reservations are going on for, first come, first serve walk-in people that want to use the field.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions? Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Lawyer, would it be cumbersome for the staff to figure out what the value of the services and the improvements that MYB is doing and charge that against what the slot fees would be?
It wouldn't be overly cumbersome. It would take some effort. We don't have a lot of experience in how long it takes to cut out baselines and prep them and get them ready to play.
I think we're going to hear from the two gentlemen, so keep that question in mind. We can
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
have them come up and answer that question. Any other questions for Mr. Lawyer at this point? And we have a chance, this is not a public hearing, so we can keep going. Councilor Day.
I don't know how this works. Do people pay the slot fees in advance, or is it after they use the field?
I honestly don't know for sure because that's something that's handled between the Keizer Little League group and whoever else uses the Keizer Little League complex. I believe by what I've heard historically, it happens both ways. Some groups pay up front and some groups, maybe like MYB, will settle up at the end of the season when they know exactly how many slot times they've used, those kinds of things.
And then it says in your report, the soccer field has a fee. Who collects that fee?
The city does.
Okay. And so does the city collect the fee up front or?
Yes.
Okay.
We collect, for reservations throughout the parks, we collect those fees on the front end at time of application.
And if they don't use the park, if they don't use their slot, are they refunded the fee or no?
Depends on why they didn't use the slot.
I gotcha. Okay. The reason why I'm asking the question is, I'm just curious. I mean, I sure hope they get out there and get a chance to play, but I mean, we're working on the assumption that they'll have the ability to go out and play baseball this spring. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Please note, Counselor, that if the fee waiver is not approved and MYB pays the city the fees on the front end at their time of application, and the situation is that they cannot play, we will certainly refund their money.
All right. And just so folks know that we do have a few facilities in the city that are available by reservation, and the soccer field being one of them, the gazebo out behind City Hall here is one of them, and the amphitheater.
The amphitheater, the covered structure at Claggett Creek Park is also reservable, and parts of Keizer Rapids Park are also reservable on a special event type basis.
Okay. And that's all available on our website.
Correct.
All right. So with that, I'd like to bring up, you guys can toss for it, who would like to lead off, and who will back me up.
Nice.
Thank you. If you just just give your name and your city of residence for the record, and then we'd love to hear from you about McNair Youth Baseball.
Yes, Madam Mayor, councilors. My name is Michael Bays. I'm a resident of Keizer, Oregon. And I'm the vice president of McNair Youth Baseball. And my real job on the board is I'm the rec director. I take care of all the t-ball and coach pitch kids. And it's really the heart of our program. We want to volunteer our time to provide a cheaper opportunity for the kids to play. Usually we offer free t-ball. It's not really in the cards this year. So that cost ends up going back on the parents, in a time where the kids just don't have a lot to do. We have a really good board that's willing to volunteer. All league numbers are down, not just ours. I talk to KLL a lot and I have a pretty good rapport with them. Their field slots, I don't know if you guys have been out there in a while, but it gets booked up pretty quick, and that all goes to the bigger kids like my son, who's out there playing JBO baseball and tournament ball. And the kids that get left behind out there, there's one tiny t-ball field in the corner that's like overgrown and not well taken care of. So, I'd like to do something where we could have interleague play with them at a place like Claggett that's nice and, just kind of brighten up the community a little bit with people that care, So I think it would be an excellent opportunity for the children of this town and just, an opportunity for us to come together and work together to do something positive.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bays? So I have one, and that is, you do know, being in an open park like that the work you do, when you guys are done with your playtime, that other people will be able to walk out there and do little pickup games and play and so forth. So there's no expectation of any security above and beyond what we provide for our parks in general.
Yeah, we're totally okay with that.
Okay.
We're all about kids playing baseball and even dads, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
we gotta
Even
get out
dads?
there. You know, I mean,
I don't know if they can reach
you
that.
feel
team.
really cool when you hit it out of a t-ball field.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, Rob, Mr. DeVars. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Kohler did have a question. My bad.
Either way, thank you, Madam Mayor. Were we talking about backstops too?
No, we weren't gonna put in backstops, but we put in netting.
There's backstops there.
Oh, they are.
They're already there.
Yeah, we already have.
Okay, we're talking 2 fields?
Yes, 2 fields.
Okay.
So we just run makeup games and practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then our main T-ball season would be just Saturday mornings, 8 to 10.
Would it be difficult to keep track of your time so that we could put that against slot fees that normally would be there?
No.
Your volunteer time?
Absolutely. I mean, our normal volunteer rate's probably like $100 an hour, so.
At least.
It usually equals out to be like 1,900 and some change. It's weird.
Highly skilled labor.
Any
All
other
right.
questions?
Any other? All right, Mr. Tavares.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks.
Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor,
Who am I missing? Oh, Mr. Lawyer.
if I may, just for clarity's sake, can we refer to this as the reservation fee and not field slot rates?
Okay.
Just so it's clarity between the Little League complex uses field slot rates.
Right.
Parks have reservation fees.
Thank you. And that's a very important clarification because we're not going to be asking that was used as the cost basis.
Correct. It's just
Okay.
that that's where the basis of cost came from.
Okay. Thank you. That was a great clarification. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You have to really be motivated to testify for the council meeting now that it's surrounded and you have to stand in the middle. So I'm glad at least we had a table before. My name is Rob Tavares, a longtime resident of Keizer. I think 37 years. I had a few wayward years in Salem, I'm sorry.
Welcome home.
It was college. But I just want to be able to speak to a couple of things, the reasons why we would really benefit as a program from being able to be able to use the fields. Traditionally, we've used Clear Lake as kind of our home base for all things T-ball, and it's been great. I think a lot of folks probably have been out to that field before, and a lot of you have probably seen the work that we had done. When I say we also have a lot of past board members and people have helped out and really made that field and those fields out there really kind of a gem when it comes to elementary school fields. One of the reasons that we're asking for Claggett Creek this year is because with the situation with COVID and with schools maybe not being open for recreational leagues such as ourselves to be participating on those fields, we're going to need an additional place to play baseball. And as you guys know, baseball, T-ball, softball, we try to open that up, boys and girls, for that age level as well. So the donation of that park for us to be able to use and then again be ambassadors of that park as well by providing service hours will mean lower costs for our T-ballers and our younger families. And it will also be a way for us to be able to provide baseball during this time. And I'm sure a lot of you are aware it's been very difficult to provide youth sports over the last year. I'm proud to say that over the course of the summer and over the course of the fall, a lot of help with Keizer Little League. We as a program were able to actually get out and safely have baseball. And so we're proud of that fact. So we know that we can do it. We have the infrastructure to be able to say, here are the specific requirements that we need for COVID to be able to play healthy. Because as you know, a COVID outbreak for an organization such as ours would be absolutely disastrous. So it's one thing that we're really mindful of. So that's those are the two things that I wanted to be able to speak to you guys too about tonight.
Thank you. And thank you very much for that. I've got a couple of questions and then I'll look for all y'all. it was brought up earlier about parking. So given the number of kids on the team and, you know, how many may walk over there, with the parking lots that are there, do you believe that will be sufficient to handle the majority of the parking? Otherwise, they're going to spill over into the neighborhood, which already happens during soccer games.
It was one of our major concerns, given the size of the parking lots. I think that we can offset games well enough to be able to have folks flow from one game to the next. We wouldn't want to encourage carpooling or anything right now. We would if it was non-COVID times, but we believe that there'll be enough of a flow between games that it should be able to accommodate what we need.
And encourage them to walk or bike.
Yes.
Because we have those nice sidewalks on both sides.
It's right in the middle of Keizer.
That's right. That's their warm-up.
Yeah.
There you go, Coach.
A lot of energy for those T-ballers. It'd be nice if they were a little tired by the time they got to the game.
It helps their focus, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I have one more question for you, and that is the equipment used to do the maintenance.
Yes.
So we have our own city equipment and so forth. Whose equipment will be used to do the extra maintenance?
We're lucky enough to have a few bits of equipment, and then we also have some relationships with former business partners, people who were volunteer board members who have also pledged to be able to provide equipment such as like rollers, maybe turf cutouts, that kind of stuff too. So we do have those relationships in place. So we're not anticipating that being a major issue about being able to improve those fields. I would say go out and take a look at Clear Lake. Obviously, given last year's shutdown and there hasn't been as much of a presence there, you might see what we could probably easily get Clear Lake going to the way it used to look, but we can make it look really, really nice.
Okay.
We have the people and we have the skills to be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I get to see a lot of those Clear Lake T-ball games on Saturday mornings. I love it. It's a wonderful way to wake up to, thing to wake up to on a Sunday or Saturday. But I noticed you also had some benches that you had tried to put up at Clear Lake, and with sort of, it looked like limited success as far as being torn down or whatever. But is that something that you would perhaps like to look at eventually if this relationship continues?
We were lucky enough to have our former president, Ryan Walsh. His dad actually had built those wooden benches, and we had kept them out there at Clear Lake. We still have them. They're still in good shape. They're in a storage facility, but it's definitely something that we would employ for the boys to be able to sit on, boys and girls to be able to sit on for those games as well. But we have those ready to go. Like I said, currently they're just in storage.
Okay. Good, thanks. I didn't know if they were.
Oh, they were beautiful. They did a great job.
They were.
And there was a little bit of vandalism with one of them, which
Yeah.
was too bad, but they were able to put it back together, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Other questions? Councilor Kohler?
I just a comment, it's refreshing to see our youth in Keizer being able to do something, and as a former player agent for Little League a number of years ago, it's really hard when somebody says, oh, well, the kids, they can't do that. And it's refreshing to see. And I just want to say thank you for allowing our kids to be engaged in team sports.
Oh, we appreciate the council's help.
All right. All right, it looks like no other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from council? Council President Smith, would you put a motion on the table for us to discuss? Oh, Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor, since this does involve a fee, it doesn't look like there's anyone else, but if you could just double check with the audience, see if there's any other comment.
All right. Any other comments because there is a fee involved? Nope, nobody rushing up, but thank you for making sure I asked the question. Appreciate that. Okay, Council President Smith.
So how do you want to do that? You said you wanted to craft it as we went.
All right, so what I'm...
Learning moment.
that is true. I did say that to you.
Line.
What do you want me to say specifically?
Looks like, based on what I'm hearing from council, is to put a motion on the table let me get to the right page. That would really help. There we go. Hello, computer. Good computer. to, let's see, they're requesting the waiver of fees to do the maintenance and the activity, to do the maintenance and the creation of the T-ball facilities, and to reserve the park for the times requested.
Okay.
And then if I miss something, then we can amend that in there.
Okay, so I motion that the Keizer City Council waive the fees for the use of the park in return for the maintenance and facility improvements for the times and dates requested.
And reservation.
And reservation.
Yep, for the times and dates requested. Mr. Johnson,
I'll wait for a second.
we need a second.
Second.
Councilor Rita seconded. Mr. Johnson.
Madam Mayor, I wasn't quick enough there earlier. My suggestion is, since it's January, is that the motion might consider just directing staff to come back with an appropriate order so that we can have it all in writing, since I think we have time to do that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Then we can, because it is, and I guess the further question for Bill and for council is, are we establishing a fee for other reservations
right.
of that
Okay.
same field
Good point.
by other users?
Right.
That was good.
Okay.
I did not intend that myself. I was approaching this as not a one-time only, but a special case, if you will. If there's a desire to establish the fee, we can do that, but that was not my intention.
I think that this would give time to establish the parameters, whether this is a one-off or this has, it can be more broadly written, so it covers more than just a one-off situation, to see if there's other related uses. Councilor Day.
Are we going to, is the city going to be able to, I guess, rent out the use of the T-ball field to other groups if they're not being used by MYB?
That is a really good question, and whether or not we will bake that in. So I think that is a question that has to be answered. If we're going to proceed with something like this, will this become one of our reservable spaces? And I don't have the answer to that question. Mr. Lawyer.
I would propose, Madam Mayor, thank you, Madam Mayor, I would propose that we don't establish a fee yet. I think we should try this. And here's my main thinking behind that. We all think the parking is going to be fine. If we're fooled and we're wrong, okay, I don't want to set up something where we establish a reservation of a field that we don't want to grant any reservations for. So I think this would be a good test scenario, see how it goes. Hopefully they can play this season. We'll have a good test to establish if there are any issues with it we haven't thought about.
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit, because once we've established that space, people are going to want to come out there and play. So we're going to encounter that at some point, whether it's by reservation or by first come, first served, which is how our other city facilities are run. We're going to have that issue. People when you build it, they come, right?
I agree, but a walk-up field for a pickup game or a neighborhood game is a different dynamic than the league organized schedule of games on those fields.
That's a good point. So, Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things that I've noticed, being on the Little League Task Force and then working with a number of other people, there's several leagues around here that would probably welcome the idea of the opportunity to reserve a field to play on. And so I don't think that McNair Youth Baseball would be the only league that would want to use the field.
So the recommendation I heard from Mr. Johnson was to withdraw this motion and then to move to direct staff to come back with a proposal to implement the proposal from McNair Youth Baseball. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Is that agreeable to council?
Yeah. It'd be
So-
in order.
It would be a what?
An order.
An order, okay. See, I'm still learning these too. So, Council President Smith, would you like to withdraw the motion?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Reed?
I just wanted to ask the representatives here, is that okay in terms of your time frame? So just
Good question.
It's not ideal, I would say, honestly. We have, other age groups that we need to be planning for that time. So if we're moving it back, hope I understand. So it'd be moved back to February to make a decision?
February 1st.
February 1st, okay. I was thinking it'd be the February council meeting again as well. So February 1st probably was probably okay. The odds that we would get out there and be able to do significant work in February, we would hope to, but we would want to try to we would try to plan out for that as soon as we could. So it's all time during the spring and trying to manage everything. So the more time we have, the better it'll be for our volunteers especially.
Understood. I think February 1st, is that something you would be prepared for our council agenda?
Yes.
Okay. So I think that will give us a couple weeks, get the language right, and give city staff an opportunity to think through some of the other implications that maybe we haven't thought through here tonight. So, some win-win. I'm sorry, then go ahead and, first of all, just for clarity, we did have withdrawal of the motion in second, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so for the record, we did withdraw. Yes.
I just want to make a comment about the other leagues. I personally have a really good rapport with both the other leagues in this town that would do T-ball. KLL, Kyle, I talk to him quite often. He's a really great guy. There's the Cal Ripken League. I know those guys really well. We've talked about doing interleague play with both those organizations. So it's not like you'd just be giving it to us. They would play with us there too. It's just Keizer baseball and Keizer kids. That's what we're looking at. So, and I think that says a lot that people are working together and, putting a focus on, maybe 2020 makes us all just focus on the kids, I don't know. Just perspective, just so, I heard some other comments that, absolutely, we want to include everybody and, do what's right.
All right. Thank you. So with that, then Council President Smith, you ready for the redo?
I'm going to give it a shot.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council direct staff to bring back an order at the Keizer City Council meeting for February 1st, 2021 for the matter to determine if that the reserving of the baseball fields at Claggett Creek Park and the waiver of fees associated with that request. Shannon?
Sounds good.
Okay. Then I second. Thank you.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilor Kohler.
I just want to get an invitation to the tournament T-ball leagues.
If they hit it off the tee, they get an extra snack? All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. That takes us to the consent calendar. Council President Smith, would you please read the items on tonight's consent calendar?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes. There are 4 items on the consent calendar. A, resolution authorizing the finance director to enter into an agreement with Power DMS for Oregon Accreditation Alliance Software Services. B, resolution authorizing the city manager to sign public body work order contract with Galt Foundation, Inc. for temporary staffing services. C, resolution authorizing the finance director to sign agreement for interactive alarm services with Abesco Solutions. And D, approval of the December 14th, 2020 City Council work session minutes.
All right, thank you. Any polls? I'm going to pull A.
I have a question, Madam Mayor.
But do you have one that you need to pull?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
But I just have a question.
Question
a procedural question.
Yes.
On the December 14th, 2020 City Council work session minutes, the approval of them, are those of us who, myself and Councilor Duran, who work on the City Council then, are we allowed to vote to approve those?
I I typically suggest the new counselors don't vote on those
Okay,
minutes.
I just wanted to make sure.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for mentioning it.
That's a good clarification. We'll go ahead and pull out that so we vote on them separately. All right. You were both at that work session as participants, but in terms of signing the minutes, that is not something that they can do at this time. Is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
That's what I prefer.
All right, we will do it that way then. So we're
No
gonna pull-
offense, Counselor Duran.
I figured you were even at that meeting on that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to fill A and D. All right, Council President Smith, items B and C.
I move that the Keizer City Council approve the consent calendar items B and C.
Second?
The consent calendar items B and C have been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously. Item 7A, what number? I don't know what number I'm on. Let's go with 9. Do I hear 9? 9A. It's just a Scrivener's error. Line 14, there's a word that actually doesn't belong there. It turns out beneficiation is a term having to do with the mining industry or extractive metallurgy. I had to look that up, and I think that word is supposed to be beneficial. It just struck me when I read it. I was like, is that even a word? And apparently it is.
No, it's been.
It just doesn't apply to the police. So with that correction from beneficiation to beneficial, I would move approval of the resolution, item 9A.
Second?
Thank you. Okay, 9A has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Sorry, Your Honor, we were just commenting, Counselor Kohler was giving me a hard time for not catching that typo.
I just managed to beat you to it.
Yeah.
It's all those years of editing and reading kids' essays and papers and stuff.
That's right.
Counselor Reed catches a lot of those too. They just, the things just leap off the page and say, fix that. It's a gift. 9D. So we will have Councilors Duran and Ross not voting on this one. They'll be able to abstain, which is not the norm for council votes. With that, Council President Smith.
I move that the Keizer City Council approve the consent calendar item D.
Second?
Item D, 9D has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes with 5 yes and 2 abstentions. That's Councilors Day and Duran. All right, this takes us to council liaison reports. And the guys at the end, you're about to learn that for the next time period, I'm going to start with one of you. And it's kind of potluck. It depends on if I remember who I started with. I never did get the hang of starting in the middle. So with that, Councilor Duran, I'll start with you tonight.
Great. Yeah, last week was kind of busy for me, I guess.
Is that on?
Yeah, just pull it closer so people can hear you.
Is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Started off with, after the work session, last Wednesday, the Keizer Chamber, I'll do this since nobody else showed up for that as a liaison. Is that all right? We welcomed Mark Collier as the interim director at the chamber board meeting, and got to kind of hear what his thoughts are for the direction for the interim while we're looking for a new director. And then we talked about the drawing a blank, I didn't write it down, the event that we usually have this week, First Citizens event, trying to move that into a little bit later in the spring or the winter. But so that was that. I met with the Planning Commission via Zoom, and I didn't realize that was their only time they'd done that. So that was for most of us now, Zoom is kind of a regular occurrence. But that was nice, getting to be back involved with those people again. Went to the Marion County Commissioners Breakfast, first time I'd been able to do that, and that was kind of nice getting to chat with, of course, Commissioner Bethel and Commissioner Willis, in that informal time. So we talked about a lot of different things. That was my week last week.
All right, thank you very much. One question about, with the Chamber Interim Director, it might be a good opportunity if you want to invite, or Councilor Kohler as liaison, one of you extend an invitation to Mr. Collier to come and say, hey, let us know what's going on with the Chamber in terms of the transition and efforts to support the businesses in our community. So I would like to make that an open invitation. All right, thank you. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the County Commissioners Breakfast, it was my duty to take notes, which I did, and then promptly forgot to type them up and send them out. So I apologize, but I will report on some of the notes that I took. We talked a lot about the vaccinations that are being coordinated with the Oregon Health Authority, the Marion County Health, and also and then the Salem Clinic, and how those are being rolled out. And so the main efforts of those are at the fairgrounds, and those vaccines are currently available to the 1A group, and were made available to educators today, which I got one, so I got a close look at those operations, and they are very efficient. They make it possible to fill out paperwork ahead of time. There are very clear lines. It took about an hour and a half, so that plan for that. So I was late for my art commission meeting today because of that. But anyway, really impressive logistical efforts. And I asked some of the personnel there where these people were coming from, and apparently some people in other industries that have been hit by COVID have been able to get employment in some of these temporary health efforts. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. The one woman I talked to was a receptionist at, I believe, a car dealership or something. And so anyway, that was kind of interesting to figure out. And then from the county's perspective, that is tricky because a lot of people want to come, and they can come to our fairgrounds to get vaccinations, but we are responsible for vaccinating our county. So it's kind of a fun, an intricate dance sometimes to make sure that we get our people immunized as well as provide immunizations for other people. So anyway, some really interesting conversations around immunizations. And we talked about some of the, with Commissioner Bethel coming on board, we talked about the importance of establishing relationships with the little cities as well as the big cities and balancing that. And Keizer is really does well at managing those relationships with our neighbors, and the commissioners appreciate that, and we will continue to do that because we are all in this together, and it is all our areas. Let's see. Some other notes in there are, we talked about some housing issues and what it takes to get people into housing, and ameliorating some of the inequities in the housing market. And I've been doing actually quite a lot on housing lately. I attended the Oregon Housing Economic Summit on the 14th, and that was a really comprehensive look at the various facets of that issue, and everything from the real estate market all the way to the homeless market. And it was a really interesting comprehensive view of that. I really appreciated the time and efforts that went into that, and I learned a lot. And boy, are there a lot of acronyms in all of these new things that I'm embarking on. I've also tuned in to a couple of meetings with the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, both in their executive, their board meetings, and also the subcommittee of the youth and young adult homelessness, which is kind of a new official title for them as a subcommittee. But again, really impressed with the quality of the people working on this and identifying the problems and some possible solutions. And again, the acronyms. Most of my notes have to do with acronyms and trying to keep track of all that. But anyway, there are quite a lot of opportunities to volunteer. So it's a community action.
The Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency.
Yes, Mid-Willamette Valley Community Action Agency. If you can get signed up for that there in terms of what you would like to and are available to volunteer for, and they'll send you emails. For instance, I signed up to help out with warming shelters and with some of our temperatures dipping below freezing. I've gotten a couple emails saying, okay, well, there's some opportunities to volunteer here. And so it's a really great way it's kind of a clearinghouse for volunteer efforts. And one of the great benefits of having a regional alliance here in terms of coordinating efforts. So learning a lot about that, and again, so appreciate the people involved in this very important work. I also had an arts commission meeting, 5 o'clock today, and that was my first meeting with as the liaison for that committee. They have approved the Rotary Peace Polls, which are really cool things. We talked about this before, but basically there's a series of polls, and they have 8 different languages represented with a message of peace on them, and they're really cool, and the design was approved, and they will be put in various parks, so that was really exciting to see. We have a student art display was approved, and that is Isabella Biondi, who is our student representative to that commission. It is her work, and it was beautiful, and we look forward to seeing that there. So in addition, we talked about some possible projects for the upcoming master plan for the arts, and some really interesting ideas. One of the more interesting one is to put a giant Sasquatch statue in Keizer Rapids Park. So a kid-friendly Sasquatch statue. So anyway, we kind of love that, and look forward to seeing what that looks like. Although, do need to be. So yes, anyway, so that's mostly it for the Arts Commission. And then I've also been involved with continuing efforts to revise the council rules, and we have another meeting about that tomorrow. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Councilor Day has a question, I think, on
Peace polls.
the peace polls.
I'm really excited about the peace polls.
Yes, they're fabulous.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, is the council involved in any way with the placement of the peace polls or anything, or is that something that we don't need to worry about?
Mr. Johnson can answer your question.
I believe the Keizer Public Arts Commission, or KPAX, is supposed to be a recommendation to council. The matter is supposed to come to council for final approval.
I was just curious because I'm really excited about the peace polls.
And I have a picture of them if we could get a zoom in on that. It's in the Arts Commission packet, I guess. Oh, there we go. So that's what the peace polls look like. Okay. So yeah, beautiful. May peace prevail on earth in 8 languages. So that's a fantastic opportunity.
That is wonderful. Looking forward to those going in. Pat Fisher, if I remember correctly, brought us that project initially.
And she was there to help finalize some of that as well.
All right. Thank you, Pat. Council President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did not have a ton because I was not in town. But I was able to attend a Zoom meeting that I'm pretty excited about what Keizer's doing and want to share with the rest of the council. We are coming along the city of Detroit. We're coming along the side of them. They have been 4 months now since the community was destroyed up there, and They have 2 brand-new counselors on their council, and they're just set up a little differently than ours. And they only have 1.5 staff members to get all of the FEMA paperwork and all of this stuff done, and try to figure out how to get their planning commission, who, you know, used to just have requests about a porta potty here or there, but it's kind of a big deal now. And so Councilor Duran and Mayor Clark and I were able to be on a call with, a Zoom call with Mayor Trett and Council President Shelley Engel and a couple other people, as we just try to find a way that we can kind of help coach them through and be there to, you know, help get them back on their feet to the best of our ability. And it's kind of a unique situation, one that we're trying to document as we go. You know, planning and the rebuild and getting those people trained up. It's a limited group of people, of volunteers. And so, you know, Councilor Duran has volunteered to help them. And I just really appreciate how much the city of Keizer is really stepping up in this manner. And Mayor Clark has just been a wealth of knowledge from the procedural steps. You know, how do you do an RFP the right way was the conversation that we had, you know, for a website, and how do you get your website up and running so you don't get so many phone calls coming in to the city with one staff person trying to answer all of it. So it's been a very unique, and we're just starting it. And I hope that every council member and staff member actually has an opportunity to be a part of that, because I do think it's going to be historical in the long run, as we do something that really hasn't been done before, with a bigger city coming alongside a small city to help rebuild. But it's really critical. So I just wanted to thank you again, Mayor Clark, Councilor Duran, for being on that call. It was very helpful, and I know that they're looking forward to another call and just getting that ongoing consistency of production going forward for them. So that's about all I had.
Well, welcome back, and thank you for continuing to come alongside the city of Detroit. I know you lost a home there, and your heart's there, but you've been making sure that they know that we here in Keizer and in the Valley are in it for the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Herrera. Oh, did you have a question for Councilor Smith? I'm sorry, Councilor.
I did. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Council President Smith, I spoke again within the last 10 days to a gentleman who is a former city manager, and he is absolutely willing to come help.
Fantastic.
With the planning and all the rest of that. So if that's something they're interested in, you need to let me know and I can connect you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Councilor Herrera. How are you doing?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Had a bunch of LOC conference calls. I think you were on one of them, I believe. And then last Friday, we had our Judicial Fitness Commission. We had 36 cases before us. And boy, those take a long time, but very interesting and very rewarding. Yesterday was MLK Day, and we did our day of service right here in one of our parks. It's kind of a family thing. And I also attended this weekend the OYN, which is the Oregon Latino Leadership Network, our first summit ever. We did, this was just formed when the COVID started, when everybody was home. And that's when our leader, Anthony Velez, put everything together. And we had a great summit with our keynote speaker was Dr. Juan Andrade from, and I've seen him speak in LA years ago, and he's amazing. And some points that I wanted to share with you folks in terms of several things that are going on in the community. And he talked about how the COVID situation has affected the Latinos. And by the way, this is mostly a Latino population in Oregon, and that's what it was about. It's a fact that we Latinos are dying twice as much as the general population because of the COVID-19. And some other interesting things that by 2060, 1/3 of our population is going to be Latino. So sorry, guys. Down the road, also I'm getting excited about tomorrow because it's Inauguration Day. Have you guys got your tux and shirt dresses ready? 4 Latinos are going to be under this administration, which is really exciting for those of us that follow that. I did want to shout out to Miriam Cummings, my good friend, who's now named Executive Director of Casa Latina Unidos, and Frank Garcia, who did, boy, I tell you, these guys, they were under the radar. Nobody nobody talks about these, but we made 3 trips down to Southern Oregon, including Phoenix, where folks lost everything. And this is not like their second home or their vacation spot. This was their only home. And everybody forgot about them. We helped them with resources, 3 different trips, one to Medford, several to Phoenix. And I never brought this up before, but we did this to help these communities that those folks were kind of really in need. They supplied many caravans of truckloads of equipment and resources, including gift cards and clothing. Like I said, these folks, this was the only home they had. So also I attended many swearing-in ceremonies. I believe you were in one too, right? Wendy Valise?
Oh, yeah.
Who happens to be sworn in as a city councilor and member of our color caucus, the state of Oregon, LOC, and she's in Aurora. And her dad was a drummer in the band I was in the 70s. Ricky Reese became the youngest ever elected official to the legislature from the 50th district. And Ricky and I worked together on many projects. He's an amazing young man. And I shout out to him. And one thing I wanted to also mention, nobody talks enough about what our students have been going through. I happen to still sort of mentor kids in a different way now because of our situation. And not enough is said about their resiliency and what they're going through and all the changes that they've had to make. It was hard. It was really shaky at first, as Councilor Reed would know. But I'm talking about the grade school level that I work with, and they're just amazing what they've come to. We started off with kids that didn't even have computer, internet, and all that stuff, and we're now at a situation where they all have, thanks to Anthony Velli's and many grants that we got a lot of kids that now have laptops and tablets, and we're really grateful for that. I think it's great when we can help the folks that really need the help. Also, I want to shout out to Salem City Council, who actually mentioned us in their last, I don't know if you guys ever saw that, but if you want to see, I recommend you guys watching the last City Council meeting last week. They talked about us and the leadership we took and followed us. In fact, I sent them and they also denounced white supremacy, which they mentioned was very timely in terms of what the situation. In fact, they took it a step further and denounced it as a health crisis also, which was really good. I mean, these guys, Councilor Ling and Nordyke, and all those guys are amazing. Anyway, so they shouted out to us. In fact, Councilor Ling said, if Keizer can do it, why can't we? So I thought it was pretty cool. Also, City of Hermiston is looking into a similar situation. I'm talking to them, and they're working on updating theirs in terms of the number one crisis in the United States, the extremist supremacists or whatever, supremacy, white supremacy. So anyway, that was pretty much most of it. I got a lot of stuff coming up with with the work session next week, a couple of meetings, executive meeting with the CBL and also the St. Vincent de Paul dual language. We'll be pretty busy on the 28th with City Day. I believe all of us are going to that. Is that correct? Points of interest next week, and that's pretty much it. I will say this, Martin Luther King thing, and I did listen to with my good friend from Florida, a session that was actually held by Martin Luther King's daughter, and I can't remember her name right now. But she said something interesting about everybody quoting about Martin Luther King on Martin Luther King Day, and I thought it was kind of interesting that she said that we do that on that one day, and the other days we got to think about living by his words and his meaning of his words. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing us up to date on the work that's continuing in Talent and Phoenix. And all of us who have been on the phone calls with League of Oregon Cities have been able to get some of those updates about what is happening in those communities as well, and some of the great work being done with the communities there and the assistance with FEMA, Oregon Emergency Management, Oregon Health Authority, great partnerships there to continue to work to get people into more permanent housing than what they're in right now. So want to congratulate and thank everybody who is continuing to support those communities. Also, I think some of you may have also been keeping up to date with what's happening over in Otis, where there's a tremendous rebuild happening there, and the partnership with the county, the tribal community, and again, Office of Emergency Management and FEMA. So those partnerships are continuing to deliver. Do all of you get the email from the FEMA Director, Gregory
O'Connor?
Yes, yeah, O'Reilly?
O'Reilly.
Yeah. Do you all get those automatically? Because I've been forwarding them, but I don't want to clutter up your inboxes if you don't already get them. Okay, I will continue to forward them. I'm seeing enough head shakes know that I'll go ahead and forward them when I get them. Those are really good updates statewide. So thank you for Councilors Smith and Herrera for keeping us, mindful of the communities that are continuing to put their lives back together. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's Councilor Herrera, you mentioned something about some meeting on the 28th. What was, I missed that.
What now?
The
City Day.
Oh,
It's the League of Oregon City
oh,
City Day.
okay, perfect.
The
Thank
City
you.
Day at the League of Oregon Cities.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
At the Capitol,
It's virtual.
virtual, but
Yeah.
it's.
Normally it's at the Capitol,
Right.
but not this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
On the 5th, I received, January 5th, I received my first COVID shot, and looking forward to next week getting my booster. And on the 6th, I attended the Council Rules and Procedures meeting, which those have been a lot of fun. I have another one of those coming up tomorrow. Also, the Clay Creek Watershed Council, a virtual meeting. They're looking at a February project at the Ben Miller Park. And we'll have some more information on that soon. Of course, 111 was our work session where we're talking about SMART goals and such. I have a whole bunch of notes on that. On the 12th, the park, I had my interview with Cindy at MIG with the Park Advisory Master Plan. And then later that day, I was Parks Advisory Board liaison for Mr. Council President Smith. There you go. And they voted to meet live. And then on the 13th, the Keizer Community Dinner, they decided that they will do a takeout meal again on the 27th from 3 to 6.
Okay.
So that's coming up. And then tomorrow, of course, I mentioned the Council Rules and Procedures on the 21st to have the Volunteer Coordinating Committee, and that'll be held Zoom. Looking forward to meeting some of the new members that we have there. 25th, the work session, and on the 28th, the Keizer Fest planning meeting. And that's it for now.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Councilor Day.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the events of January 6th in Washington, D.C. had a tremendous impact on me because a lot of people don't know this, but for 3 years of my life, I always say I did time in D.C. I lived in D.C. and worked for a senator and for a congressman. So to see people ransack the Capitol was really tough for me because my first job was giving people tours of that magnificent building. It's an unbelievable place. And so it really impacted me a lot, had a profound impact on me. So I decided that I was going to do my part to try to turn down the volume, if you will, lower the temperature on our political discourse. So I invited folks to join me at the gazebo here and enjoy some coffee, a little bit of cold weather, and some civil political discourse. And we had 3 people show up, 4 of us total, on the 6th, 7th, 9th. That was great. We did it again on the 16th, and we had, there's 4 of us out there again. I'll probably do it again in February, and I'll try not to schedule it in Coffee with Kathy day, Saturdays, but I got a lot of people saying, hey, I'll be there when the weather isn't as cold, because Mayor Clark was one of the people there that was at the first one, and it was very chilly.
A little bit.
A little bit chilly. But that was very encouraging, and we had great discussion. We were there for about 2 hours, and I think everyone had a good time. Learned a lot about a lot of people. Mayor Clark learned that I once had a glass of wine with Nelson Mandela. And if you want to know that story, you'll have to come in February, and I'll tell you the story. On the 14th, I attended my first traffic safety Bikeways and Pedestrian Committee meeting. I can't believe I got that name. I think I got it right.
You had it.
It was obviously the first one of the year, and they are a lively group, to say the least. Let me see, I'm going through my notes really quick. As Hirsch said earlier, they want to apply to be a bike-friendly city again. That we received the honorable mention last time, and the fact that we didn't have an education component was what held us back from apparently becoming a gold medal group. So gold medal city. He talked about the Monster Cookie bike ride as well, which is June 27th. It'll be the 45th annual, 1,000 to 2,000 cyclists. And so they're hoping to do it at Volcano Stadium.
Or Keizer Rapids.
Or Keizer Rapids. No, they cannot use McNary. They've already been told they cannot use McNary High School. So it'll be Keizer Rapids or Volcano Stadium. They met in person. Their next meeting is February 18th, and they're planning on meeting in person again. And I think that's it.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm just going to add a couple of things. I just have noted the lateness of the hour. Thank you to Councilor Reed for talking about the work of the New Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. That alliance continues to deliver on projects and to help our partners, both government partners such as the City of Salem, Marion County, and our service providers. I want to remind everybody that the point-in-time count, what we call the PIT count, will begin on the 26th. There is a newsletter available online. I will be posting on my Facebook page, and encourage people to go to that newsletter, find out more about the PIT count, what it does for us in terms of the data that we need to better understand the people we are seeking to serve. Also, if people want to volunteer or support those efforts, there's a way to do that in a number of ways. The Housing Economic Summit that Councilor Reed mentioned was indeed very, very interesting. The Oregon Realtors Association put that together. It was very comprehensive, again, talking about the barriers that are in place for people to be able to enter housing, to be able to build that personal wealth and that stability for themselves, their families, and their children. So with that, on Friday was the Fair Housing Council of Oregon presented the Oregon history of bias and discrimination against people of color. We're talking about the Chinese, the Japanese, the Black and Latino communities historically have been denied access to capital, to even be in the state, deportations, all sorts of historical events that have landed us now where we're at with the disparities that we observe on a daily basis between different communities based on racial identity. So that's why that is such an important issue for us as a city through our buildable lands inventory, housing needs analysis, and any other levers that we can engage to help overcome and correct these things that have been embedded in our state for way too long. And I know we have the will to move forward in any way that we can learn to put together to overcome those barriers. Coming up, we have the Heritage Foundation tomorrow night. It's got rescheduled from the 13th. A little leak appeared in the roof over at the Heritage Center that was handled, and I want to thank the contractor for being very, very prompt on that stormy night to get it tarped and to prevent damage to a great extent. So appreciate that. On the 21st, I'll be giving testimony at the Oregon Transportation Commission about the Aurora Donald Interchange. I will be continuing to push for full funding for that project, and for them to allocate that is going to save lives. It's going to save about $5 million, and it's going to save a lot of time by getting that one done and getting it done right. Anybody who's been at Aurora Donald knows that that interchange is very, very old. It is completely outdated. It is very unsafe. and for all of the communities that use that and more now with the Newburgh Dundee bypass, phase 1 open, is now more important than ever to get people moving through there safely. Trucking industries use the two truck stops there as well. So I'll be presenting that letter. There's also going to be another update from Salem Health. Thank you to their shout out for what they're doing with vaccinations and also keeping us up to date on our hospital capacity, which continues to function very well for our region. Lastly, on the 29th, I will be attending virtually OMPOC, which is the Oregon Municipal Planning Organization Consortium. So this is a meeting of leadership of all the MPOs, of which we are a member. Ours is the Salem Keizer Area Transportation Study, SCATS, and we all gather on a quarterly basis to talk about legislative and infrastructure, planning, and other issues that we find that we have in common across the state. I did want to follow up with a request made at public testimony last time regarding supporting our local businesses. I did follow up with Jason Brandt, who was the executive director of the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association, about how we can help to support our restaurants and bars specifically during this time period when they are shut down or very limited in their operations. He said the number one thing we can do, number one, folks, to help out our local restaurants and bars, get the numbers down. That way we reopen, and then they're back in business. So keep doing this, don't do this, and mind your wingspan. Keep the numbers down. So with that, that is all I have. So I will then go to other business. This time is provided to allow the mayor, city council members, or staff an opportunity to bring new or old matters before the council that are not on tonight's agenda. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'll mention first off that I had the Arts Commission meeting this evening, and they have chosen to meet in person moving forward. So it seems like that is a trend. Everybody wants to meet in person, not virtually, so that's good. Tracy.
I have nothing, thank you.
Chief Teague.
We've been asked, and so everyone knows, we are not doing the Citizen Academy this year for the obvious reasons. Hard to get together in a tight confines. We'll do it next year.
Okay. Bill.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Tim, do you have a mic?
I have nothing to add either, thank you.
Okay.
We'll come back to questions.
Yeah, I'll grab everybody at the end. Shane?
Nor do I.
Shannon?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Councilors, any questions? Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, City Manager. Mr. Wood, when can I start using my water again?
We didn't turn off your water, did we?
That's how rumors start.
Thank you for that comment. So,
actually, it's about March 1st will be the go live date for using water again.
Thank you.
We are in the midst of our sewer reset period. As many people know, we don't have a way to measure sewer. So we take your average water consumption during the winter months, and then we use that as the base for your sewer rate all year long. So the more water you can save right now, the happier your wallet will be.
Any other questions?
Until March 1, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, City Manager. Mr. Lawyer, I wanted to ask a little bit about the power outages that we experienced last week. I know, you're not PGE, but just in so far as you know, I know up in North Keizer, it went out about midnight and didn't come on until about 5:30 the next evening, and some other parts of the area are still, anyway, anything you have to say to enlighten us on that situation, I'd appreciate.
I wish I could enlighten you on the situation. You know more about it than I do, having lived up there. I know that one of my staff members was out of power until noon or later the following day. Lives up off Wheatland Road. I really don't know what happened.
Okay, so you weren't involved with any of the tree
PG has not
removals
talked to us or anything. I don't know any details other than it was out and it was out for a long time.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and again, that's not your purview, and I appreciate that. But I know that a lot of citizens, it put a big chink in a lot of people's day when we're all working at home and not able to have electricity. So
Yeah,
I know
my daughter-in-law is a teacher and she came to our house. We have Salem Electric.
Yeah, a lot of people.
But I will tell you, I did get a call from PG that morning, wanting to know about the priority for one of our pump stations up on Bear Road. And I informed them, it's not a critical station for us this time of year, but clearly the sooner we can get it back on, the better. Interesting thing was that site never lost power. So,
Thank you.
Councilor Kohler.
Thanks, City Manager. Mr. Lawyer, what's the latest on the reflective paint?
well, it's encouraging.
Good.
Not the paint, a fix. I got a rough estimate for doing reflectors or reflectorized pavement markings. Another acronym, RPM. I think of RPM differently than that. At any rate, initial cost was about $7,000 to do River Road and Wheatland Road. And so at that number, I'm pursuing formal quotes for Lock Haven from the tracks to River Road, all of River Road, and Wheatland Road. As soon as I get those back, I'll know what we're going to do. Checking on the weather conditions, what kind of weather we have to have those put down. But I'm moving forward with them. So I was really surprised at the number for that much roadway for about $7,000.
Cherry?
I decided not to include Cherry right now. The reason for that is it's getting close to needing to be resurfaced. And although it's not a ton of money, I hate to put the money down one year and grind it right off the next year.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Any other questions? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. I know on the agenda says written communications. We are now doing that under public testimony, public comment, the written portion. Agenda input, next Monday, January 25th, we will meet at 6 p.m. in a work session, and that will be training, safety training, and some council rules and procedures, the current one, some tips and tricks for success. February 1st at 7 p.m. we will meet in regular session. That will be in person. February 8th, 6 p.m. work session. That will be the buildable lands inventory housing needs analysis. And I understand from what was said tonight, that will be Zoom. Mr. Witham.
Yeah, unfortunately, based on how many people, because it's going to be council and planning commission and a consultant out of Portland who is not comfortable of showing up at in-person meetings right now. But in talking with the city attorney, we don't really believe that we could do an in-person setup in here anyhow, so Zoom makes more sense. So, I mean, it will mostly be the consultant talking and giving a presentation to kind of tell us where we're at, so.
Okay. And then February 16th, we'll meet at 7 p.m. That is a Tuesday after the President's Day holiday. And that will be in regular session. We have not made a determination yet on in-person or Zoom. At this point, we're not seeing changes in the numbers. When do we need to take formal action on that, or by consensus, Mr. Johnson, regarding doing February 16th in person?
My recollection, just from memory, is that your direction was through February for in-person. So we'll probably be making the decision, you folks will, on the February 16 meeting for March. So,
now remember, we made the determination for February 1st because of a public hearing, but we didn't go beyond that, if I remember correctly. So I think we need to make a determination for the 16th, whether or not we need to do that tonight or we do it February 1st is my question. But I believe we did it through February 1st to accommodate the public hearing. Tracy's giving me the head nod.
Oh, okay. I was timing it towards, I'm getting it mixed up to the actual emergency declaration, which goes until March, so.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay.
So you folks can decide that now, or you can wait and make a decision on February 1st.
Does council, do we need to suspend the rules in any way, shape, or form, or just by consensus?
For something like this, no, you can do it by consensus.
Okay. Are people comfortable with doing in person on February 16th. I don't want to put peer pressure on anybody going, no, I'm really not comfortable with that. So I really need people to let me know if you're not comfortable for any reason, or if anything changes, either health-wise. And of course, we are always watching the numbers. We will pivot on a dime if for some reason we need to switch to Zoom, because now we can. But at this point, I'm not seeing anybody going, yeah, we really need to switch to Zoom at this point. So by consensus, we will meet in person on February 16th, 2021. We are in agreement?
Yeah.
So noted. All right, is there anything else for the good of the order? Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been in contact with Mark Callier, who said he's willing to come on the 16th.
Okay.
And introduce himself to us and give us his vision for Keizer Chamber for this year.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So that'll be noted for under special orders of business for February 16th. Thank you very much. All right, the time is 9:40 and we are adjourned.